Algorithms designed for astrophysics are now being used to cure male infertility. Autonomous robots are scanning live cells at 6,000 times magnification. And a couple who spent 18 years trying to conceive has finally achieved a pregnancy thanks to artificial intelligence. Welcome to a special edition of the DJAMGAMIND Daily Rundown. I am Anna, your co-host. This podcast is researched and produced by Etienne Newman, senior software engineer from Université Laval, based in Calgary, Alberta. Today, we perform a forensic autopsy on the biotechnology revolutionizing the global fertility market. For decades, the physical and financial burden of the IVF industry has fallen heavily on women, largely because severe male factor infertility was considered a medical dead end. Searching for viable sperm in a severe case was likened to finding a needle in 1,000 haystacks, taking human embryologists up to 15 hours of manual, exhausting labor. But the landscape has fundamentally shifted. New AI platforms like the STAR method and T'easy are using advanced computer vision to scan millions of images in minutes. These systems are finding viable life where humans previously saw nothing, effectively redefining what it means to be sterile. This is not just a medical miracle. It is a massive macroeconomic disruption to a $37 billion global industry. Before we dive into the data, a quick reminder. To support this independent forensic research, please subscribe to the DJAMGAMIND channel on Apple Podcasts to always listen completely ads-free. Let's unravel the science.
Usually, when we think of humanity's most profound discoveries, we picture these massive radio telescopes, right?
Right, yeah. Scanning the universe.
Exactly, just sifting through the infinite blackness of space for a newly born star. But what if you took that exact same astrophysics algorithm, shrank it down, and pointed it at a microscopic drop of human fluid?
I mean, you wouldn't be searching for a star anymore.
No, you'd be searching for the literal building blocks of human life. Welcome to today's deep dive, where we are looking at exactly that.
It's such a fascinating pivot because we are taking the immense computational power designed for the unimaginable macro, galaxies, light years, cosmic dust, and turning the lens entirely inward.
Which is wild to think about.
It really is. We're moving far beyond the current cultural conversation about, like, chatbots writing emails or generating images. We are looking at artificial intelligence directly intervening in human reproduction.
It shifts the entire paradigm. And honestly, it's a shift that's desperately needed. I mean, for you listening, when you hear about AI disruptions, your brain probably doesn't go to severe male factor infertility.
Unlikely, no.
Right. But for decades, the multi-billion-dollar fertility industry has operated with this massive structural imbalance. The intense physical, emotional, and financial burden of IVF in vitro fertilization has fallen predominantly on women.
Largely because male infertility was frequently treated as just this biological wall.
Like a dead end.
Exactly. If a male patient had an exceptionally low sperm count, or seemingly zero sperm, clinical science just didn't have many options. If the human eye couldn't find the necessary biological material through a microscope, that was it.
The journey just stopped.
Right. And the burden then shifted right back to the female partner to endure more invasive cycles, or, to the couple to make the difficult pivot to seeking donors.
So today, we're exploring how algorithms are completely dismantling that wall. We're unpacking a comprehensive report from the BBC, and it details a breakthrough technology out of Columbia University. It's called the STAR system.
STAR.
Right. And to really grasp why this matters for you or anyone navigating this, we have to look at the staggering math of human infertility. Globally, about 1 in every 6 people of reproductive age will experience problems getting pregnant at least once in their lifetime.
That is a massive demographic of the global population just, quietly navigating this struggle.
Yeah, it really is.
And within that demographic, male infertility is a primary or contributing factor in up to 50% of cases.
Half of them. Wow.
Yeah. But the clinical focus of our deep dive today centers on a very specific, incredibly challenging condition known as azoospermia.
Azoospermia, meaning essentially there is little to absolutely no sperm present in the ejaculate.
Correct. And it affects about 1% of all men and roughly 10% of all infertile men. The psychological weight of that diagnosis is just immense.
I can only imagine. The BBC piece actually grounds this in a very real story. They introduce us to a couple, Penelope and Samuel, who had been trying to conceive for 2.5 grueling years.
Just a long gauntlet of tests and dead ends.
Exactly. And eventually, Samuel receives a diagnosis of Klinefelter syndrome.
Right.
Let's break down the biology of that for a second. Klinefelter syndrome is a genetic condition where a male is born with an extra X chromosome, so it's XY instead of XY.
And the wild part about that is a man can live his entire life feeling completely healthy, right?
Yeah.
With absolutely no idea he has this genetic variation until he and his partner try to start a family.
It's crazy. And the extra X chromosome, it fundamentally disrupts normal testicular development, which then drastically limits testosterone production and basically halts the creation of sperm.
So when Samuel gets this diagnosis, he is told he has a mere 20% chance of ever having a biological child.
Just a 20% chance. He described the moment as an absolute slap in the face.
Yeah, you have to imagine the sheer devastation of sitting in that sterile doctor's office and hearing that number.
But to understand why the medical field gave him those specific odds, we have to talk about the embryologists, like how medicine has historically handled azoospermia.
The manual process.
Right. I want you to imagine trying to find a single specific translucent grain of sand on a massive beach. But you have to look at the entire beach through a tiny drinking straw.
And your eyes start playing tricks on you after the first hour.
Oh, absolutely.
And keep in mind, the sand isn't just sand. Under a microscope, a medical sample is a completely chaotic landscape.
It's not just a clean slide.
No, it is packed with cellular fragments, white blood cells, tissue debris, dead cells. I mean, in a typical healthy semen sample, you have tens of millions of sperm per milliliter.
So a single droplet is densely populated.
Highly active, yes. But in a severe azoospermic sample, you might have one viable cell in the entire wash. Or, you might have none at all.
So you have a highly trained human being staring through a lens, sifting through that microscopic debris field drop by agonizing drop. And they might be doing this for hours.
Hours and hours. It becomes a problem of human biological limits, not medical expertise. Dr. Zev Williams at the Columbia University Fertility Center, he actually describes it as a sea of debris.
A sea of debris, that paints a picture.
Staring through a microscope at a translucent fluid for sustained periods, it inevitably leads to eye strain, focus drifts.
Because we're human.
Exactly. The human visual processing system simply wasn't built to maintain that level of microscopic vigilance without fatigue.
And while the embryologist's eyes are burning, the clock is loudly ticking.
Yes, the timing is critical.
Because in a standard IVF cycle, the male partner's sample is being processed on the exact same day the female partner is undergoing an invasive surgical egg retrieval.
Right. The eggs are extracted, they're sitting in an incubator, and they are rapidly degrading.
So the pressure to find just one viable cell in that sea of debris is astronomical.
Which is exactly why the medical field had to look entirely outside of biology for a solution. They hit a physical limit with human eyes, so they looked to software that doesn't blink.
They looked up at the cosmos. I love this part. In 2020, Dr. Williams was reading about modern astronomy, and he had this massive epiphany about how astronomers handle the impossibly vast amount of data generated by modern telescopes.
Because you can't just have a human astronomer squinting at a million high-res photos of the night sky, hoping to spot a new galaxy.
Right. You'd go blind.
They use machine learning algorithms. Those algorithms are specifically trained to filter through massive amounts of visual noise.
Like vast expanses of darkness, known stars, cosmic dust.
Exactly. All to identify the tiny, faint, specific luminosity that indicates a newly born star.
And Dr. Williams looked at how that software processed the endless night sky and realized, wait a minute, this perfectly mirrors the embryologist staring at an azoospermic sample.
It's just noise and darkness, and you are hunting for a single spark.
But, okay, let's unpack this. How does an algorithm looking at a burning ball of gas translate to a biological cell? Because a star and a sperm couldn't be more different.
Well, it fundamentally comes down to pattern recognition and contrast. The AI doesn't actually know what a star or a cell is, right?
It's just math.
Right, it just analyzes pixel variations. So in a biology lab, the AI is trained to look for a specific structural pattern.
An oval head, a translucent tail.
A very specific type of motility. And it looks for that against a massive backdrop of cellular noise.
How do they even train it to do that?
You train it by feeding it thousands of hours of video showing biological debris, and you program it to ignore those shapes. Then you feed it footage of viable sperm and program it to flag them.
So Dr. Williams brings this astrophysics concept down to Earth, shrinks it to the microscopic level, and the result is the star system. sperm track and recovery.
It's incredible.
It completely blew my mind reading the physical mechanics of how this works,
Mhm.
because we aren't just talking about plugging a fancy webcam into a laptop, are we?
No, not at all. This involves cutting-edge biological microfluidics. The physical hardware is just as critical as the software.
Tell me about the hardware.
They use microfluid chips. These are tiny pieces of glass or polymer, and they're etched with channels that are quite literally as thin as a single human hair.
A human hair.
Yeah. The fluid sample is pumped through these microscopic rivers, basically forcing the cells to travel in a single file line. And as they flow, a high-speed imager scans the fluid.
Wait, I read it scans the fluid at 300 images per second in real time.
Real time, yes.
But hold on, my brain is catching on the physics of this. If you have fluid rushing through a hair-thin channel, and the software spots microscopic cells zipping by at 300 frames a second, how on earth do you physically extract something that microscopic that fast?
Without completely destroying it.
Right, you can't just pause the fluid and reach in with tiny tweezers. The force of stopping it would probably crush the cell anyway.
It is a brilliant engineering hurdle,
Yeah.
and they solved it with robotics.
Okay, robotic.
The AI is communicating with a highly responsive sorting mechanism integrated directly into the chip. They utilize a principle of fluid dynamics called laminar flow.
Laminar flow, meaning what exactly?
It's where fluids move in parallel layers without mixing. So within milliseconds of the algorithm flagging a specific coordinate on the image as a viable sperm, a microscopic switch activates.
So it's actively rerouting the flow of the water in a fraction of a second.
Precisely. In that fraction of a second, the robotics divert that exact microscopic droplet of fluid away from the main channel.
Oh, wow.
The empty seminal fluid, the debris, the white blood cells, that just continues down the main track into a waste tube. But the tiny droplet containing the identified sperm is gently shunted down a separate track to be collected.
And the cell is just suspended in a cushion of fluid the entire time.
Exactly. Completely safe from mechanical crushing.
That is brilliant, and the sheer accuracy of this is almost hard to process. According to the source, the STAR system boasts a 100% sensitivity rating.
100%. If there is a single viable sperm in that sample, the AI will catch it.
During their testing phase, the algorithm found 40 times more sperm than highly trained human technicians searching the exact same types of samples.
We have essentially outsourced visual processing to an entity that doesn't get tired, doesn't get distracted, and can analyze structural morphology flawlessly at high speed.
It completely shifts the paradigm of what constitutes a sterile patient.
It really does.
Hmm.
But it's one thing to have a microscopic train switch running flawlessly in a theoretical lab.
Right.
When you apply this to actual human beings like Samuel and Penelope, people who have already endured years of devastating failures, the stakes of that algorithm working completely change.
Let's talk about those stakes. The physical preparation Samuel had to undergo just to provide a sample for the STAR system is intense.
Very. Because of his Klinefelter syndrome, his body wasn't naturally producing sperm in the ejaculate at all.
So what did he have to do?
He had to undergo 9 full months of aggressive hormone therapy just to stimulate any potential latent production.
9 months of medications, the side effects, the emotional buildup, all culminating in a literal testicular extraction surgery.
Right. The urologist had to surgically remove tissue directly from the testicle to find any hidden pockets of sperm.
The physical toll on the male partner in this specific scenario is immense. It completely mirrors the grueling prep the female partner goes through for egg retrieval.
And the synchronization of those two surgeries is where the timeline pressure really peaks.
Right, because they happen on the same day.
Exactly. Samuel's extracted tissue is rushed to Columbia's andrology lab, broken down, and run through the microfluidic STAR system. Simultaneously, Penelope is in an operating room undergoing her egg retrieval procedure.
They are actively racing the clock.
Because a fresh sample, utilized immediately, offers the highest probability of successful fertilization.
So the astrophysics-inspired algorithm goes to work at 300 frames per second on a sample that a human eye would likely have deemed completely sterile.
And what did it find?
The STAR system isolated exactly 8 sperm. Just 8 solitary cells out of millions of pieces of debris.
It's like finding 8 specific stars in the entire universe.
Truly. And those 8 were injected directly into Penelope's retrieved eggs.
And one of those fertilized eggs successfully developed into a full blastocyst.
We should probably clarify what a blastocyst actually is in this timeline, because it's a huge medical milestone. It's not just a fertilized egg.
No, it's an embryo that has successfully divided and grown for about 5 to 6 days in the lab.
Right. It reaches a little over 100 cells and starts differentiating into two distinct parts. What will become the placenta and what will become the fetus.
Getting to the blastocyst stage means the biology didn't just combine, it held together. It thrived.
And that single blastocyst was transferred to Penelope, and it resulted in a successful pregnancy.
The article notes they're expecting a boy who was likely the very first baby ever born, relying on this specific star technology.
Penelope actually spoke about the profound surrealness of feeling the baby move, having the anatomy scan. I mean, it's a monumental human victory pulled from a scenario they were previously told was nearly impossible.
It's beautiful, but, and I hate to be the one to do this, we do need to pause on that 20% to 30% success rate, though.
Oh, absolutely. We have to look critically at the broader data.
Because as incredible as Samuel and Penelope's story is, the Columbia University Fertility Center reported on their latest 175 patients who used the STAR system.
And these were all individuals categorized as hopeless cases, right?
Yes. In that cohort, the system found viable sperm in just under 30% of patients.
Which, to be fair, is an undeniable clinical leap for those specific individuals. 30% is massive when the previous alternative was 0.
True. But if you flip that statistic, it means 7 out of 10 highly desperate men who go through 9 months of intense hormone therapy and a literal testicular surgery are still going home empty-handed.
And that raises a huge question. Are we at risk of weaponizing false hope in an industry that already operates on desperation?
It is arguably the most critical ethical tension in the biotech space right now. Professor Siobhan Quenby from the University of Warwick is very vocal about this in the source material.
What does she say?
She explicitly warns against the overpromise of a happy ending. Couples navigating severe infertility are one of the most vulnerable patient populations in modern medicine. They have often spent years of their lives chasing a single viable embryo.
And biotechnology doesn't exist in a vacuum, you know. It exists in an economy.
A very lucrative one.
Right. The fertility sector is a massive, multi-billion-dollar global market. An average round of IVF in the U.S. can easily cost north of $20,000 out of pocket.
So when you introduce a shiny new AI tool that promises to find what humans can't, the price tag on that hope is going to be astronomical.
Exactly. And if someone tells you there's an algorithm that finds hidden sperm, you aren't hearing 30% chance. You're just hearing a guarantee.
Which is why the scientific community insists on rigorous restraint. Professor Quenby points out that while one successful pregnancy is a phenomenal proof of concept, we cannot declare male infertility solved.
We absolutely need large-scale, peer-reviewed clinical trials.
We do. The medical field needs to define exactly which specific subgroups of azoospermia actually benefit from this microfluidic AI, rather than allowing clinics to offer it as a blanket miracle cure to everyone.
Because think about the algorithms we interact with every day. Think about how often the GPS on your phone gets confused, thinks you're on an overpass when you're actually under it, and tells you to turn into oncoming traffic.
Right, and it happens all the time.
And we accept that margin of error for a drive to the grocery store. But imagine that level of algorithmic hallucination occurring when sorting the genetic material for a human life.
It introduces completely unprecedented legal and ethical hurdles. We are dealing with highly sensitive biological data.
Yeah, like when an algorithm scans your genetic material to select the optimal cell, how is that data stored?
What are the confidentiality protocols for a microfluidic chip mapping human DNA signatures? We don't really know yet.
And the accountability piece is wild. If the AI flags a cell, the robotic switch rescues it, the embryologist injects it, and later there is a severe genetic anomaly, who is liable?
Is it the fertility clinic?
Or is it the engineer in Silicon Valley who wrote the machine learning code?
Is it the AI itself? These are the exact disputes over AI liability and ownership that global regulatory bodies are just scrambling to address right now.
The pace of the software development is exponentially faster than the legislative frameworks designed to regulate it.
We are quite literally rewriting the rules of human reproduction on the fly.
So as we pull back and look at what this all means for you listening right now, the landscape of medicine is shifting beneath our feet.
It is.
We started this deep dive looking at a biological wall-severe male infertility, long considered a tragic dead end that forced couples into incredibly difficult alternate paths.
And we've seen how an algorithm born from the desire to map the vast cosmos was miniaturized, paired with fluid dynamics, and repurposed to break through that wall.
And the star system is not an isolated event. As the article briefly notes, Artificial intelligence is aggressively stepping into almost every other area of IVF.
Machine learning models are currently being used to personalize the exact dosage of the gonadotropin hormone.
That's the medication used to stimulate the ovaries, right?
Yes, trying to optimize egg production for each specific patient's unique biology.
And deep learning tools are being trained right now to assist embryologists in selecting the most viable blastocysts for transfer, trying to mathematically remove the guesswork from implantation.
Code is quietly rewriting the entire timeline.
It really is. And even if you are not actively navigating the fertility space, even if the specific medical application never touches your life, the core lesson here is universally relevant.
The most profound technological breakthroughs rarely come from inventing something entirely out of thin air.
They come from radical repurposing. The astrophysicist looking at the night sky and the embryologist looking through a microscope are fundamentally trying to solve the exact same problem, isolating the vital signal from the endless noise.
They were just looking at opposite ends of the physical scale.
It proves that siloed thinking is the enemy of innovation. When we take a tool built for one massive, unimaginable problem like tracking the birth of stars and apply it to an intimately microscopic one, the impossible suddenly becomes clinical routine.
It opens up so many possibilities.
Exactly. So I want to leave you with this final thought to mull over. If an algorithm designed to track the cosmos can be successfully repurposed to literally help create human life on a glass slide, what other unsolvable medical mysteries are we currently failing to fix?
It's a great question.
From autoimmune diseases to cellular degeneration, how many biological dead ends are just waiting for us to stop looking at them through a traditional microscope and start looking at them through the lens of the stars?
That concludes our special forensic briefing. The strategic signal for today is the democratization of biology. For decades, the failure of the human eye limited the boundaries of reproductive medicine. By applying machine learning models originally designed to map the cosmos or pilot autonomous vehicles, we are unlocking biological potential that was previously hidden in plain sight. As these AI systems clear regulatory hurdles and enter mainstream clinics, the staggering financial and emotional costs of the IVF cycle will fundamentally shift. To support this podcast and help us continue producing deep forensic dives, please subscribe to the DJAMGAMIND channel to listen completely ads-free. And as a special bonus for our community, we have exclusive discount codes for Google Workspace and Etienne's personal pro apps. You can find the email address to claim those directly in the show notes. I am Anna. Stay sharp and keep unraveling the future.
And before you go, if your company is building the tools that power the workflows we talked about today, I'd love to showcase them to this audience. We don't just run ads, we build technical simulations that prove your value. Let's build something together. Visit jamgamind.com/partners to get started. Until next time, keep building.